This is Six Tackles with Gus, with Matthew Thompson and Gus Gould.
Welcome to another Bonza episode of Six Tackles with Gus. On the show today, the Canterbury casualty ward. It is bulging at the seams. Canberra's bold play to make Jack Wighton a Raider for life. Gus's tip for the US Masters. You'll see it all here on 9. It's Masters Week. So exciting. And it's a signing frenzy in the NRLW. We'll tell you who's moving where as we prepare to launch a new 10-team premiership in 2023. Welcome, Gus.
Matthew, how you doing?
Very good. Great footy this week. Great footy last week. It's been great footy all year.
It's very entertaining, isn't it?
Yeah.
Players are putting on a good show. Plenty of tries being scored, close finishes, drama at the end of games. And then you have the Bermuda Triangle.
Yes. I thought Nicho Hynes was going to kick that goal. Did you think he was going to kick it? It was a tough one.
It was way too far out, and the wind was coming from the wrong direction. No, I didn't think he could kick that one. I was pretty confident that Shaun Johnson would kick his. But remarkable performance. Down 20-0, looking like it was going to be 60. The Warriors had no answer. The Sharks were just scoring at will, to the point where the Sharks started experimenting. The Sharks started getting away from what was working and thought, we'll try a bit of this and try a bit of that. The idea of the result just went totally off their brain. Then they led 26-6. From that point on, the Warriors were just brilliant. They just ground their way back into it. They didn't panic. Normally they'd become a rabble and offloads and chip kicks and all that. They didn't do any of that. They just methodically dismantled the Sharks and were too tough for them at the back end and thoroughly deserved their win, which I said during the call and I'll say now, I think is probably one of the greatest wins in Warriors history.
Oh, absolutely. I listened to Andrew Webster's post-match press conference. What an impressive bloke. And the way he spoke, he said, we're a different Warriors team. We went into halftime despite having Niokore sin bin, where there was belief about what we were doing, and everyone's waiting for us to fall over. But, you know, we don't think we're going to fall over this time. Have you seen enough in that on the weekend and what you've seen over the first month to think they're the real deal?
Oh, they're the real deal. And as I say, you know, they're a club that's come through adversity for several years. Now, you know, having to live away from home in the 3 seasons that they did, and families and everything that cost them, and the injury run they had last year, even though they got back home last year, they had a terrible injury run and were still competitive in a lot of games. So they've sort of been living with adversity for quite a while now, the fellas that have been a part of that side. Remember, too, that Tohu Harris didn't play. Tomato Martin didn't play.
Rich Barnett wasn't there.
Rich Barnett didn't play. So it's, I mean, you know, they've done it under strength as well, and it was the way they went about it. As for the coach, Andrew Webster, and I said on 100% footy the other night, he's a young man who's done his apprenticeship. He's coached in a number of different levels, in a number of different clubs, in a number of different countries. And he's really done his apprenticeship. He spent the last 2 years with the Panthers, and they've won premierships. And there's no doubt he's taken a lot of things to them, which has improved them again. Now, you know, everything needs to be pressure tested. No matter what you do during the off season, whether it's culturally, spiritually, you know, football-wise, talent-wise, strength-wise, conditioning-wise, doesn't matter. You can do as much as you like. That's where you put it in the bank during the off season, and then it's got to get pressure tested in competition. And some teams, you know, they're not as good as they thought they were going to be, and some teams, you know, it works nicely for them. But this has been pressure tested now for the Warriors, and they've been quite effective in their games. They've all been similar games where the results been in the balance with 20 minutes to go, and they've finished strong. And
that's right. They would have fallen over in years past, wouldn't they? In all of those games where they're close, they would have, they would have tanked it.
Well, yeah, they've got a history of some huge losses, you know, because they just didn't have the resilience to do it, but. They're a good group of blokes. It's a really good club and a really special group of blokes to do what they did and to keep the game alive the way they did. They've lived with adversity. So, you know, being down 20-0 didn't seem like that big a deal to them on the weekend. And most impressive was the way they went about it. Normally a Warriors team that gets 20 behind, what would you expect? They'd either give up and get beat by 60 or, you know, they'd try and chip kick, grubber kick, you know, offloads, flick passes, whatever they could do to try and get back on the scoreboard. There was none of that. Absolutely none of it. Shaun Johnson just held them steady, kicked and chased well, and they methodically went about it, and we could feel it. You know, just after half-time when they were first to score, I said, that's the one. That's the one they needed, that one there. And from there on, they were never going to lose, I thought. I thought they were always going to win. And the Sharks they went from being an attacking beast to being protective and trying to coast their way to the finish line and protect the points that they had rather than trying to score again. And that doesn't suit them. obviously, at this stage.
It's one of the good news stories of the comp so far. Congrats to the Warriors. Hope they can keep on keeping on. They're up against Newcastle this week. The coach is doing a great job. The CEO, Cameron George, is one of the good guys of the game. So I wish them all the very best.
So too, the owner, Mark Robinson. He puts his money, he's a private owner, and he puts his money in to support the club and build rugby league. The Warriors need a lot of help. New Zealand Rugby League needs a lot of help. The game needs to be investing in that area. We don't do anywhere near enough in New Zealand and Pacific Islands. I'm not going to keep harping on that. They don't like me saying it, but we do. We've got to invest in that if we want to invest in the future of our game.
No, we're talking about a Pacific franchise. I mean, you got to get right what you've got in the comp first, I suppose.
You need the right people making those decisions, mate.
Michael Maguire has just re-signed too. Some news which dovetails nicely with New Zealand Rugby League as their coach till the end of 2025, which is the next World Cup.
Yep.
Let's get.
We need to help New Zealand because. Now that Samoa and Tonga in particular and Fiji, now that these players of heritage want to play for those countries, it's really diminishing the talent pool that New Zealand would have normally drawn upon. The majority of New Zealand players are second and third generation Australians over here, and there are kids leaving New Zealand at very young ages because they've got to come to Australia to get developed. We need to be able to develop these kids in New Zealand. There's no pathway for them in New Zealand. Warriors can't do it all on their own. If I'm an 18-year-old kid leaving school in New Zealand, there is nowhere for me to go to continue my rugby league journey.
So you have to come over here?
You either have to come to Australia or you have to go to, if you haven't been picked up by the Warriors, or you have to go to rugby. You know, the only choice for an 18-year-old is to go and play park football against the men, and you can imagine what that's like in New Zealand, the size and all that. And there's, we need to fix that. But we need to align ourselves with the right body and spend the money in the right areas, not just throw money at it and have it taken up by wages for people to have a job. There's a difference between having a job and actually doing something productive for the game. New Zealand needs help. Otherwise, we're going to lose our probably major competitor on the international stage. Australia needs to, the NRL needs to be it needs to be the EPL of World Rugby League. We need to run it from here. It's as simple as that. We need to make England strong. We need to make New Zealand strong. Pacific Island nations is the future. And we need to make ourselves strong. But the New Zealand national team is going to keep getting weakened unless we help with development of those that can qualify to play for New Zealand. The majority of them now are following the lead to go and play with Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, even if they might be born in New Zealand or even if they've moved to New Zealand at a young age. This is a whole subject, Matt.
Yes.
Don't gloss over it. It's not. It's a big subject because it's important for international rugby league, and Michael Maguire is well aware of it. He came and saw me again this week. He's well aware of it. He needs to get an ear of the people who can actually help with this. And understand what the issues are. The problem is I don't think our people understand the real issues.
Can't the national coach get an audience with the right people?
You would have to think so, wouldn't you? Let's hope he does.
Indeed.
Yes.
Let's play our favourite segment.
Yes! No. Dear, oh dear, oh.
I'm going to switch question 2 and 1 because that segues nicely. Sean Johnson's career will continue in the NRL after this season. Yes! Yeah, baby. He's going good, isn't he?
He is going good. And for those genuine, experienced playmakers, they can play well into their mid-30s now. The way they control the game and sports science and conditioning and, sheer desire. He's very, very happy now. He should never have left the Warriors in the first place. I always felt that was strange that he left the Warriors and ended up at the Sharks. And whilst he tried there, he didn't really fit and he never really looked happy. And it didn't take much of a conversation at all to get him back to the Warriors. And and he went back to New Zealand because he wanted to live in New Zealand. Well, they got moved to Redcliffe for another 12 months, and that put a bit of a strain on things. But the fact that he's now living back in New Zealand, close to family, which is very important to him, and enjoying his football the way he is. You saw it on the weekend, what he can do. He's really directing that team around the field nicely, and we have a genuine shortage of game managers and playmakers and halfbacks in our game. We've got 17 teams and we've got about 8 halfbacks. So.
Yes, that's right. Now, why do they get paid the big bucks?
That's why they get the big bucks.
Supply and demand. Yeah. Now, I don't know whether the Eels, this X-Factor thing is fair income, but let's assume it is. Does Daine Laurie fit the bill as an X-Factor player for Para? Ooh. He's running around for Western Suburbs again this week.
Well, he's an X factor in any team that he plays. If they are looking for, I don't think they are. I don't think they're looking for a fullback. They've got a fullback. I think it was just Gutherson's leadership. He was the one that instigated the conversation. But I think Daine Laurie would be a good pickup for any team. He's an exciting player. Things happen around him. He's a kid that. When he was younger, he used to get very homesick, and he was a very humble kid and very, he wasn't a great salesman. He didn't sell himself very well, but he very, very talented footballer. But as he's maturing, he's getting better and better with that. He's a tough kid as well. I've got no doubt he's a weapon, whatever team he plays in. If the Eels are looking for an X factor, I don't know that they are. But the question is, does he fit the bill of an X factor? He definitely fits the bill as an X factor.
He's the sort of player that would go really well in a good team, wouldn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He's the sort of player that could go down and replace Papenhuyzen at Melbourne.
Yeah, right.
And just shine.
Yeah.
Absolutely shine. No risk in the world. You get him in a good side like that, he's an X factor. He can make things happen.
Last weekend might have been the best round of footy in 10 years.
No.
We're accused of getting...
Everyone remembers the
hysteria.
Most recent one. Yeah.
Well, Webby had a go at us. Said that we were being over the top.
Who?
Andrew Webster. Said we're getting whipped up with hysteria. Webby, come in the commentary box when you're calling one of those games, bro. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I don't read newspapers, so I don't know what was said.
Why? It was a great round of footy, but you're saying let's not jump the gun.
No, it wasn't the best round of footy in 10. You remember the last one. It was exciting. There were some close games. There was a couple of floggings too.
Best round of footy in 2 weeks.
I didn't walk away feeling as though I'd just witnessed something I'd never seen before.
You've seen everything.
Other than the Bermuda Triangle, but I know I go to the Bermuda Triangle expecting to see something I haven't seen before. But other than that, it's the Bulldogs thing was exciting and
Oh, exciting! You'd have fallen off the lounge in the cinema room, hey? Where do they keep those buses that go missing down in the Shire? Is there a bus cemetery? Do you know where it is?
I've been looking for them. I reckon there's a big hole in the ground somewhere there with a lot of old buses in. Now some of them are Cronulla buses.
How many team buses they go through?
They're not all the away teams. Sometimes the Sharks get it wrong too. But it's incredible, the Bermuda Triangle. It
reminds me, when you said that on Sunday, it reminds me of that movie Twister, where they,
tornado
gets picked up and blown everywhere.
I live in the Shire, and I often go down for a walk past Shark Park there, and I tell people it glows in the dark. There's something mysterious down there. Even when the lights are off, it glows. Yeah, right. There's evil football god spirits down there somewhere.
You just see that evil laugh coming out of the ground.
100%. Yeah. It creaks. The whole thing creaks in the breeze.
Oh, that's funny. All right. None of the live golfers can win the Masters this week. Yes! I'm putting a pen through the live golfers.
Yeah, I don't think they can. I don't think they're battle hardened enough. I think the other fellas are just going too well. Having said that, I've had a little bit on Cam Smith because I always back him. But listening to him interviewed, I don't think he's going to be winning either. I've done my money there. So,
what did he say?
He just said he hasn't picked up a club all summer. He came home and won the Australian tournament out here, and virtually sat with his family and friends and didn't pick up a golf club until earlier this year. And he really isn't. His game's not as sharp as it needs to be at the moment. And if you're going to be exposed, you'll be exposed at the Masters at Augusta. So it'd have to take a huge turnaround for him to win. I didn't see the interview before I had me bet, but anyway.
But see, this is the disappointing thing right now. You can't blame these blokes for taking the mega bucks, but they don't need to train as hard. They play on easier courses. They don't play 4-round golf.
Yeah, they don't play.
And they're making 6 times as much. Yeah. So he hasn't got the incentive to work hard to win a Masters. So we might never win it unless the two has come together.
Yeah, well, it's going to take someone with extraordinary work ethic. And a lot of them, when you see them interviewed, are saying it was a lifestyle decision for them. Well, rubbish.
Hello, what's wrong with your
money decision?
What's wrong with your lifestyle?
I'll tell you who I backed.
Okay,
I backed Cameron Smith, which I've done my money. Xander Schauffele. I thought he was brilliant last year, and I thought he was brilliant through the World Match Play or the Match Play tournament they just played across there. He's really on his game at the moment. Sun Jaim, who's a player I've really admired for a long time. Corey Connors, who I backed last year, and he was 200 to 1. I think he finished top 10. I always said I'll keep backing him just in case, and he won a tournament last week.
He's good. Canadian.
And the Australian Min Woo Lee, I think's got the game that will trouble them at Augusta. There are my bets. It'll probably be gone after the first day. And I'll have another bet when the cut comes up because I love the Masters. I love watching it.
It's great. See it all here on 9. Now I've got the plug here actually. Broadcast live on 9 Gem and also on 9 Now. Live content and feature groups. A-Man Corner holes 15 and 16 on 9 Now. So you don't just have to watch the block coverage. You can have a choice of what you want to watch on 9 Now. Now on Thursday the Par 3 Challenge starts, and then the first round at around 5 a.m. So all the action here. It's great to be the home of the Masters.
Have you seen the crowds for the practice rounds?
Unbelievable.
It's incredible, isn't it?
I'll tell you what I did see. Did you see the price of food? It's cheap as chips.
$2. Well, yeah.
$1.50 for a sandwich.
Yeah. So it should be.
It's not $9.80.
It should be $1.50 for a sandwich everywhere.
Yeah, I agree with that. Pay $10 for a bucket of chips.
You know, it's hard to go somewhere and get a good sandwich these days. They don't have sandwich shops anymore.
Do you know they don't? So I'm often out in the western suburbs of Sydney.
And I understand COVID's been terrible. A lot of businesses never came back after COVID. But and there's not, the city's quiet, isn't it, after COVID?
Yeah.
We've never really recovered from that.
Oh, yeah.
But I used to, in the Sutherland Shire, there used to be a sandwich shop. They don't make sandwiches anymore.
I always look for a sandwich shop.
Yeah.
Always. So the Emu Plains lunch shop, if you're out in the western suburbs on Russell Street, it's worth going.
I could always get a sandwich in Penrith.
Yep.
That wasn't the problem. But in the city, you don't get those nice sandwich shops you used to get, which means what do you got to have?
Hamburger.
Pie or a burger or sausage roll or something.
All right. You might have to call up Darryl Broman, Peter Tunks, Willie Mason or Mark O'Mealy this weekend.
Yep.
Now, what's going on? Who have you got fit? Now, have you got 11 out or more?
We've got a number of players out, but we've been that way pretty much most of the season, and we had some more injuries the other night. So let me think. Out of players that would probably likely be starters in this game, you've got Luke Thompson, the English international, who hasn't played at all this year. You've got Tavita Pangai Jr., who has not played at all this year. You've got Viliami Kikau, who is out on this mandatory 11-day concussion thing, even though he's bright as a button today, and he got a 100% test score yesterday on his protocols, but he's still got to sit out another game. We've got Ray Fatala Mariner, who is also sitting out under 11-day mandatory concussion. We've got young New Brown, who dislocated his elbow against the Warriors a couple of weeks ago.
Franklin Pele broke his arm.
He's going good, Franklin. Just keeps finding a way to, miss a game. He's missed a few now. He's had his operation this week. Jaden Knockenbaugh has been playing on the wing for several years there at the Bulldogs, and leading into the Warriors game, we put him on the bench because of concussion, and you just never know when someone's going to be sent to the head bin, and you've got to be able to cover all positions, and so they put him on the bench as a cover for outside backs. I said he's 6'7" and he's 115 kilos. So he looks like a front rower to me. Don't tell him, just throw him in there. And they did. And I was joking, but they did. And he went really good. So they put him out there last week. He played 72 minutes last week playing in the forwards. Went really good. And he's gone for one of these
hip drop
things. He wouldn't know what a hip drop was. He's a winger. Wouldn't know what a hip drop was.
Well,
I think a lot of people don't know what a hip drop is.
Well, you're going to come out swinging on the weekend against South. We'll be covering that. We've got 2 games.
Well,
Friday.
I've said all year it's a club of opportunity, and that's where we are at this phase at the moment. We've gone out and bought a lot of young blokes, a lot of teenage kids that are making their debut in the side. This year Paul Alamonti's made his debut for the team. Young Jacob Preston's made his debut for the team. They've both been extremely impressive.
Oh, is he all right? He busted his finger,
he's got a nasty one. He and Max King they went out. He poked Max King in the eye.
His own bloke.
And did the webbing in his hand. So he's, it's a very short turnaround. We go from playing the last game on Sunday night to Friday afternoon. Like, it's a 4-day recovery. It's ridiculous. People want to talk about welfare, and NRLPA want to argue about time off during the holidays. What about this? That we got the two teams that played Sunday night having to back up on Friday. What sort of, scheduling is that compared to everybody else? And why does that happen?
Why does that happen?
Well, I can't answer you, mate. I don't make those decisions. But it's, particularly where we are at the moment with so many injury concerns, and it limits the amount of time there is for others to recover. So obviously Max King and Jacob Preston will be given up until game day because we have to give them until game day. This week Harrison Edwards is going to play lock forward. Jackson Torpenay comes in on the bench, and there may be another debut player yet. Just wait and see who's fit and well. So they really will only have one light session in between the game the other night, and we probably won't know the team until Friday morning.
Yeah.
But it's an opportunity. And you're playing South, who are a really good side, and you could have your best team in and play the best of your ability and still lose to South. So it's a bit of a free roll. We can just get out there and have a crack and do the best we can, and hope that we get some troop backs in. And for the young players that get their opportunity, I mean, Harrison Edwards and Jackson Torpenay and maybe another debut player there by the end of the week. It's a great opportunity for them, and that's what we're about at the moment at the Bulldogs. We're giving kids a chance and looking at what our team's going to look like in a few years' time. The coaches and the players of today are looking after today and today's results. My head is 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the track and what the club looks like from there. Been very happy with what we've achieved in 12 months, but we've got a long, 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 long way to go. We're nowhere near the finished product yet.
So Willie Mason's not going to play?
I think you'd give him 10 minutes if you wanted. Marco Mealy would certainly play. They all offered. Everyone offered. Andrew Ryan is with the club. He was there. Mick Potter even offered that he.
Mick Potter.
Mick's as old as me.
Mate, Willie's fit.
They are.
You get 15 minutes out of Willie, wouldn't you?
It's great having them around. I mean, they've been really enthusiastic and they've been great. It's been great to get a bit of that old Bulldog flavour back in the club, and they're really passionate about it, which is good, because when your coaches and staff are passionate and they're upbeat, it's good for the whole club. And I think the way our team has played this year, they've won 3 of their first 5. They've been on the road for most of it, and they've had a lot of injury problems. We haven't had our forward pack on the field at all in any game, but they're playing with plenty of spirit, and they don't win that game the other night unless they had spirit and belief of each other, and they just found a way to get it done. The week before against the Warriors, they were down 14-12 for the last 25 minutes. Only had to score 1 try to win, and just didn't quite get it right on how to go about it. They just didn't get their football on. It was kind of, they're still learning how to do that, and then it was pointed out to them that, we had all that time, and how did we actually think we were going to go about it and get the try? And we never got it done. This week they had to score 2 tries in the last 15 minutes, and they got it done. And then they went to Golden Point, and they got that done too. So they were a lot more believing in themselves and playing better football. And still a long way to go in this competition, and we've got to get some players back. But very happy with the way they're going, very happy with the staff, very happy with the coach and his staff.
Good stuff.
We're on winners there.
Yep. It's good to see the Bulldogs doing so well. Now, a spin on the Jack Wighton story, which has been a big yarn since last week. Canberra have taken a major advantage in their fight to retain rep star Jack Wighton by tabling a monster 4-year, my eyes are watering, $4.4 million deal.
Wow.
The Raiders' massive offer is designed to blow the rest of the competition out of the water after Wighton confirmed last week he was taking himself to the open market. The Green Machine have submitted the formal offer to Wighton's management. The Eels, apparently the Bulldogs, Warriors and Dolphins have all been interested in adding Wighton to their roster. Of the 4 rivals, that's understood the Dolphins have emerged as the greatest threat. He's 30. 4 years, $4.4 million. So they obviously want to keep him. I saw Danny Weidler on the show on Monday, 100% Footy, saying that it's inevitable the Raiders are going to have a roster clean-out. There's been we've covered this team since the 2019 Grand Final. There's been a real sameness about their team, and a few of them are getting on a little bit. But obviously, Ricky wants Jack Wighton to be the plank around which that team is built. It's a lot of money.
It is, but he's genuine representative class. He's origin class. He can play a few positions. Naturally, they see him as their leading playmaker, number 6. And, on the surface, you look at it and you think, well, why would he ever leave the Raiders? He's been there all this time now, and They've shown, what they value him at. If that money is in fact true, that's a massive deal. Jack Wighton, I said on 100% footy the other night, marquee players like this leave clubs only for one of a few reasons. They're either very unhappy at their club, or they're not being paid enough and they think they need to go and test the market. Well, that's not right. I'm quite sure he's happy in Canberra and they're going to pay him a fortune to stay. So I don't think it's the money that's the motivation. It could be lifestyle and where he wants to live. Well, my understanding is he's a country boy and he likes his environment. He lives on an acreage down there outside of Canberra and he's very content there. There may have been some family relations in Queensland that he may have been. If it's a lifestyle change they want, well, it's a lifestyle change. You go to where you're going to have the lifestyle you want. And if that's sunning yourself on the beach, but you're a professional footballer, you want to play where you want to look after your trade. And the other reason is to win a premiership. And when I look at all of it, I'm thinking, if that's his motivation for leaving, then you can kind of understand it. That he's been there 14 years. It would appear that, they're not in that sort of realm at the moment. They had an opportunity a few years ago and just fell short. They played a grand final, but he'd be wondering, have they built the side around me? Is this the team that's going to win a premiership before he retires? What is he now, nearly 30?
He's 30, yeah.
He's 30. How long is he going to play for? 33, 34? They obviously think 34. They've offered him a 4-year deal. Can you see the Raiders winning a premiership in the next 4 years? And I guess that's what he's considering. Plus, that's all he's ever known. He's only ever known the culture of the Raiders and probably never experienced it anywhere else. And maybe he thinks that it's time to go and look at a new culture or find some new coaching or some new ideas or what have you. And I'm sure it's nothing against the Raiders. I'm sure it's nothing against his current teammates. It might be just, do I keep doing what I've always done and expect different results, or do I go and broaden my education and my horizons and take a chance on winning a premiership with other clubs? Now, if he wants to win a premiership in the next 3 or 4 years, how many clubs does that rule out? And how many clubs does it rule in? And if you're going to go to a club that's in a position now to win a premiership in the next couple of years, which is, if that's his desire, then you've only got a handful. And can they afford a $1.1 million playmaker? Do they need a $1.1 million playmaker? So it narrows the field, doesn't it? Which keeps coming back to, well, then why would he leave the Raiders?
Can I tell you how it looks to an outsider?
Yeah.
Last week he says, I'm going to test the open market. 5 days later, he's got an offer on the table for $4.4 million.
Well, he might be the smartest man in the room.
That's how it looks to me.
Might be the smartest man in the room. But, I don't know.
Don't you reckon? Pretty good business.
I've never met Jack. I don't know Jack. I don't think I've ever been in his company, ever, which is unusual for us. We get to meet most of the players, but I don't think I've ever met Jack. So I don't know much about him personally at all. I don't know what his motivation is, but I don't think it's anything anti-Canberra. I don't think it's anything to do with money. I don't think it's anything to do with lifestyle. I think maybe he's thinking, and as you say, it may have been just a bargaining chip. I don't know.
Managers wouldn't do that, would they?
No, I don't know. I think this come as a bit of a shock to his manager.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think he was expecting, which is why they were very relaxed about it. I mean, he's coming off contract. Normally, marquee players like this, you've signed them up 18 months in advance. Yeah. You don't let them come off contract. And even if they were off contract, they can start negotiating November 1. I think he's got an option in his own favour, so he's always got that there. But it's whether or not he'll take up the option to play again, and they've come over the top, because I don't think his option's worth that money. I don't think it's more than what his option is, I think. So.
We got an Ask Gus here from Blake and the Pork podcast. Now, they must be a rival podcast, Gus. I don't know whether we should be getting questions from rival podcasts. I mean, we are very high rating here, but Blake and the Pork podcast, who appear to be in the Canberra Raiders colours, if you're a Canberra fan, you should listen to Blake and the Pork. What do you think Jack Wighton's best position is, and how do you think he'd go at 13?
It's a good nickname, the Pork.
The Pork.
Yeah, the Pork. Sorry, what's the question?
I'm trying to work out what you're getting at there. How do you think? What do you think Jack Wighton's best position is, and how would he go at 13?
Well, I think he can play any position. I think as now you say he's reached 30. I don't think he would like to play fullback ever again. I think that's for a younger man and a faster man now. He's always been, to me, an Origin class centre. Even when he was playing fullback and 5'8" for the Raiders, I recommended him highly to the Origin coach that I thought he was an Origin centre, and he's proven himself at that level. He can certainly play 5'8", and I think he could play in the forwards. I think he could play a left edge back row. I think he could be a lock forward at the back end of his career with now the knowledge he's got and the game control he's got, and he's a very physical sort of player. But I don't even know if that would be in his thinking. He probably sees himself as a 6 and a 6 only, and that's how he's going to sell himself. They certainly think so. They're going to pay him that sort of money. That's playmaker money.
You don't pay that for a lock, do you?
Yeah,
it's interesting. I was just thinking about this last night too. The left centre for New South Wales, I know you don't pick your team before the medical, but gee, there's some candidates. Latrell, Matt Burton, who was super last year. Wighton's played there. Stephen Crichton might not have a spot if you lock Turbo into right centre. Gee, there's a few there.
Yep. They've got plenty of talent.
Not interested in that.
Well, what do you want me to say?
I don't know.
Left centre for the Blues is a fascinating star. Yes, it is. I agree.
Very good. Now, this story, I nearly fell over when I read this. West Tigers have been criticised for launching a commemorative jersey ahead of Anzac Day that depicts American soldiers, rather than those serving for Australia. The battling club, currently in last position with a 9-5 start to the season, used a stock photo image for its Anzac Day jersey. The decision drew criticism on social media as the Tigers released the design ahead of their Round 8 Anzac clash against Manly at Campbelltown Sports Stadium. It's not an Australian. They're not Australian soldiers. Now, look, how amateurish is that? And if you are going to launch an Anzac jumper, do you not show the occasion adequate respect rather than going on to Google and picking out an image from a war?
Yeah, I don't know how this has come about. As a sideline, years ago at Panthers, we had a marketing manager called Anthony Francis, very, very smart man. And Anthony came to me with he very much wanted to acknowledge the Anzac spirit and the Anzac weekend. And the Panthers, we were never really, at that time, we were never really invited to the big days, like your Queen's birthday weekend or the long weekend game or the Good Friday game or the Easter Monday game. Panthers were never invited to those big days, and nor did we have many Anzac Day games at home where we could actually show our respect for the Anzac spirit and be a part of that. We were always on the road because you get bigger crowds somewhere else, I guess. That's how they do the draw. But this particular year, we were actually going to have a home game. We were playing the Sharks at home, and so we wanted to do something really special. So he went away and negotiated with the Australian Defence Department to use certain privileged images of Anzac and Australian Anzac spirit, your poppy and the different designs and different things and shields, and he wanted to dress the whole jersey in a tribute to the Anzac spirit, which meant me going and seeing the major sponsors of the day to say, for one round, could we take and the fellas from Oak were outstanding. Hertz, all our sponsors that we had at the time said, yeah, absolutely. So we were able to, with an Australian and New Zealand flag and the coat of arms and poppies, and so it was, and the image of the soldiers we put on the front was an iconic image of Australian, war, and it was so popular not only with our fans, but with fans everywhere, because it other than a little panther on it, it didn't really recognise as a Panther jersey. It was purely an Anzac tribute.
I remember
jersey.
The jumper.
Yeah, it was brilliant. And we sold 5,000 of them. Like, it's unheard of. We sold 5,000 in no time. And the Defence Department actually rang us and said, look, no more. We didn't think it was going to be, we don't want to commercialise this. And we responded to that and said no more. So, and I think at that time, I could stand corrected, I think it was decided that those iconic and historic things that are aligned with the Defence Department and around Anzac would not be used in anything that was going to be a commercial opportunity as well, like jerseys and the like. So it was very much a one-off and something we were very proud of, because we recognised the Anzac spirit. It was a great day for us. But so, I guess in all clubs looking to be a part of the Anzac Day spirit and to acknowledge it and to acknowledge our soldiers and from past, present, and it's. I guess everyone's looking for an idea and something that's going to be, supportive of the, reflective of how we feel about Anzac Day.
The game does a great job of Anzac Day.
Yeah,
but this, you
but I
respect the occasion.
I don't understand how this has happened. Maybe it was just an image put there as a design feature, like that's what we'll do with it, but then someone didn't get around to actually getting something legitimate put on there, or maybe I don't know how it's happened, I guess.
No, it just points to a total breakdown.
I don't know how that happened.
That's ridiculous.
I can understand their motivation. I can understand what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I think it was all with all good intention, but somewhere along the line that has slipped through the cracks and it hasn't been addressed, and whether it was just put there just to fill the space until such times as we get the design we want, I don't know, but that's not a good look.
So when a club's struggling like the way they are, everything is scrutinised. I saw a pretty ridiculous article about Daine Laurie liking on Instagram a try scored by Brisbane against them on the weekend. Now, if you're anything like me on social media, you flick through and you like things you don't even really twig, so I don't think he's having a crack at his team. But everything...
Is there a don't like button?
I wish there was.
There's no don't like button, is there?
No. You get RSI if they're one of them.
Yeah, you might have pushed the wrong button.
But when you are a club struggling, Gus, you're under the microscope. And, for the on-field stuff is terrible at the moment. The fans are...
Yeah, but they're not related. Like you can't.
Well, no, but what? Yeah. But it just points.
Would it make any difference if they were leading the competition and they still made this mistake on the Anzac jersey?
Well, I don't think not with the Anzac jersey.
Of course not. Of course not. So the Anzac jersey's got nothing to do with team performance.
No, but the point I'm making is that on the field they're struggling, and then they get this off the field issue, and everyone starts to think, "Geez, what's going on at the?" They
don't need the publicity.
That's right.
That's a bad mistake. There's no other way to put it. They'll recognise that it's a bad mistake. But what are you going to do?
Broncos put the cleaners to them on the weekend. Just having a look at that Broncos team, and in terms of the makeup of it. Now, please don't think for a moment I'm saying this Broncos team's as good as teams past, but the balance between this current team and past Broncos teams is actually quite eerie. I was looking at it man for man. So you got the ball-playing fullback, who's also a left footer and goal kicker. So you can draw a line between he and Lockie. You got the powerful wingers, Oates and Jesse Arthurs has been there, and Selwyn Cobbo, of course. Corey Oates is out at the moment. You got the two strike centres who are flying. You got a great ball running number 6 in young Ezra Mam, and the 7. I mean, he's not Alan Langer. He's a very different type of player, but he's got a great kicking game. And then you look in the forward pack, Payne Haas is Glenn Lazarus, and then the rest of the pack's pretty formidable as well.
Yeah, they've had some good teams in between those as well.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not saying that they're... But
it's a good-looking football team.
And the way that you look at it from a structural perspective, it's pretty similar to the great teams they've had.
Yeah, for a long time they were looking for an experienced game manager, and that's where Adam Reynolds has brought a lot of this to life. They've always had great strike. They know the importance of big, strong wingers. They know the importance of hard-working back rowers. They know the importance of forward leadership. It's not hard to work out what a football team needs to win games. The problem is finding the players to do it. They've got a tremendous advantage up there in Queensland because they have a lot of kids to pick from, and most kids want to be a Bronco that come from Queensland. That's all part of that being a Queenslander type thing. That's why we need greater competition in that part of the world. We can afford another team up there, but this is a really good team. And a lot of these fellas made first grade at a time when the Broncos were going poorly, and they were probably exposed a little bit earlier. But that adversity that they've been through has really steeled them now for what's leading into what could be a really good period for them. They were in the top 4 for most of last season, fell at the back end of last year for whatever reason, but they've started this year even better. And you would think there is greater longevity in this group than last year. So
who have they got coming up? Now, they've got Canberra this week. They're obviously pronounced favourites.
We had them rated to win 9 of their first 10. I said to everyone, Broncos will lead the comp after 10 rounds.
They've got the Titans round 7.
I said that at the start of the season.
Parramatta round 8.
They might win Darwin. 10 out of 10. They might never lose.
We'll cover that one up in Darwin too. Then they're back to Suncorp to play the Rabbitohs round 9. Then Magic round they take on Manly. So they've got a couple of tough ones coming up from round. They're all tough, but
I had them winning 9 of their first.
Well, they
10.
could. They could be miles ahead.
Yeah.
I heard you say that you think the Roosters should be favourites to win the comp.
I think
where's this team?
I think they've got the premiership winning roster. I think they've got a lot of things covered. Probably more than the Broncos, depending on what sort of football is being played when we get to the back end of the season. But the Roosters have got the premiership winning look to me than the Broncos at the moment. Broncos, if they can hold this group together, and already we see that Herbie Farnsworth has already signed with the Dolphins for the following year, and how long has Adam Reynolds got? The way he's playing at the moment, he's getting to his senior years as well. So it's hard to say they're going to be better next year, but I think a lot of them will be better next year. I think the X factor is obviously Reece Walsh, who I've said all along is a superstar, and he's really showing us that at the moment. They're a chance, but if they were playing in finals football today, I think the Roosters would handle it better. Now, it's still a long way to go between now and the end of the year, and the Roosters have got to get their players there. Whoever's fit and well at that stage of the year has a big say in premiership opportunity. But
if they can continue the form they're in now and with natural improvement,
yeah. Well, they went to Penrith round 1 and beat the Panthers.
What if they don't get a heap of injuries? And they keep playing like this as you get to the finals.
Yeah.
They could very well win this thing, couldn't they?
I think I just said that.
Did you?
Did I say that?
I don't know.
Did I say they were a premiership?
No, you said the Roosters.
Do you listen to anything I say?
You said the Roosters are going to win it.
I said the Roosters, to me, at this stage, are a better premiership winning. It looks more like a premiership winning roster. The Broncos, if there's one thing, it'll be big match experience at that time of year. That's and genuine international class origin experience. All right? So if they can get Reece Walsh or a Katoni Staggs into the origin sides this year, if Selwyn Cobbo can play more origin, if Flegler and Haas has already been there, Capewell gets more origin. If they can get Papenhuyzen up there, all right. So if we can get more of those playing in the origin series, you need half a dozen origin players to win a premiership. Roosters have got representative class players in every position. I mean, it's an amazing roster, absolutely amazing roster.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they can turn around and say, it's okay, we lose Suolali to rugby because, we can get someone else. Well, Roosters can, other clubs can't.
They got a heap out too at the moment, the Roosters, and they're still
chugging along.
All right, Ask Gus. Now, Willow, who is one of our biggest fans, loves all of your work. Willow, he's a Western Suburbs boy.
I think he's a Penrith fan.
Is he?
I think. I might be wrong.
He's a Gus fan because he sent me this on Twitter directly.
All right.
Now, this is a quirky question, but a good one. If a player drives to the game and gets a head knock and fails their HIA, are they allowed to drive home?
No.
They're not. There you go, Willow. Great question.
Yeah. Well, no. Well, certainly we wouldn't let them drive home.
Right. So
we've got education and welfare people. They're the same if they get an injury, an ACL, they get a shoulder. Mind you, they don't drive themselves to the ground very much at all these days.
Don't you?
No. Everyone's on a bus or a plane or something. So... but if you were playing at a game at home or sometimes when you're playing locally, if a player got a serious injury, doesn't matter what it was, there's always someone there if they've got their car with them and they haven't got their partner with them or parents or family and that sort of thing to help get them home. We got staff there that our education and welfare go above and beyond. And every club's got them, not just us. Every club's got them. There are people there that will, like last week, Luke Goodwin stayed over in New Zealand with New Brown till he got his... because he went to the hospital, they couldn't get his dislocated arm back in, so they sit at the hospital with him all night. They take Franklin Pele across for his X-ray yesterday. They kept him fasting all day just in case he needed the surgery. When it was found out he needed the surgery, he could go straight into surgery. They do a fabulous job. We had, in the pre-season, we had a young fella hurt up at Toowoomba. We took a lower grade trial up there. Our education and welfare fella stayed overnight with him in hospital. Got up the next morning with it. We hired a car and drove him home from Toowoomba the next day because he'd had a head knock and we didn't want to put him on a plane to get him back home. So every club does that. I don't know that it's a compulsory thing. It's just a welfare thing that we do. First thing we say to them, who's here? Who are you with? Have you got family here? Have you got your wife here? Have you got your kids here? Have you got a car here? What's your transport? Or even if we're busing them back to the Leeds Club or busing them back to the airport or flying back into Sydney. How are you getting home from there? Whether it's cab charges, but normally we've got a welfare fellow that'll either drive their car or take them home in their own car and make sure they get home safely, and we go and pick their car up the next day. So it's that the welfare goes. People don't see what these people do. They're wonderful people.
Sounds like a great setup. Willow, excellent question. Do you used to drive yourself to the game
every week? And
do you ever have a drama?
That's how we learned. That's how I learned to get around Sydney. That's I was going to football grounds, driving myself to football grounds.
Did you ever get lost or get caught in traffic?
In the early days, yeah.
Like if you ever miss the start?
If you're a Western Suburbs kid, you've got to get to Brookvale, you've got to get to Shark Park or down to, But that was the fun. We used to drive ourselves to the game every day. Even when I was playing first grade, back then you drove yourself to the ground. That's where you learned how to get around Sydney and get around the roadways and find yourself. I know every inch of Sydney. I could have been a cab driver. I probably should be a cab driver. Might be my calling. But, this is, I've lived here all my life, so I should know it by now.
So you break down? Do you have a breakdown or flat
tyres, ran out of petrol. My first car didn't have a petrol gauge, little VW.
Right.
First car I bought.
It didn't have a petrol
had a reserve tank, so when you ran out of petrol, you just clonk, and then you'd have to switch over to the reserve tank, and you had about 50 mile to go and get a full tank.
Was that the one that didn't have a floor?
Yeah, it had no floor. It had 2 boards on the floor. I put my feet on it.
How'd you get it through Red Jack?
The floor was rusted out. Dad was a policeman. He always knew someone to give you a pink slip. Someone he'd arrested or something.
Someone he'd arrested. Oh, that's funny.
It was a scallywag, my old man.
Very good. So Tommy would have driven to the game. What would Tommy do after?
I drove Tommy to the game.
Did you?
Yeah.
So he wouldn't drive himself.
We wouldn't let Tommy drive anywhere. No, Tommy never drove.
Did he have a few cans waiting for him after the game?
Absolutely. Tommy would stuff his bag with cans. Yeah, they were funny days. And back then, stupidity, but there was no breath testing or anything like that either.
Oh no.
So you
didn't have seatbelts either.
Well,
did you?
we wherever we went, and that was the thing back in the day. It was a Sydney competition. All the teams were in Sydney, and you'd drive off to Cogra, or you'd drive off to the Sydney Sports Ground, or you'd drive off to Redfern Oval, or Leichhardt Oval, or wherever you went. You'd drive there, you'd play, you'd stick around. Then you'd go back to the opposition team's Leeds Club. You go back to their Leeds Club and have a few beers with them, and you jump in your car and come back to your Leeds Club and have a few beers there, and then you'd drive home because you had to get up the next morning at 6 o'clock and go to work.
Jeez.
We were part-timers. We had jobs. Mind you, a few blokes lost their job by not getting there Monday mornings. But
how long would it have taken you before the freeways were in place, to drive from Penrith to Manly for a game? I'm wondering, up the Great Western Highway?
Yeah, well, I was living at Maryland, so I was living at Parramatta, so I was sort of in between everywhere. Yeah, they were long trips.
It's a long drive.
It was like Brad Fittler tells the story of the day I put them all on. I used to, when we had big games, I'd put them all on the minibus, and I'd drive the minibus to the ground. We took Penrith to Manly. We were playing on a Friday night, I think. We hadn't won at Brookvale for a long time. So I put them all on the minibus. Anyway, we ran into traffic at every turn. I had them getting ready on the bus.
They were warming up on the bus.
They were putting their boots on and stretching on the bus. It was only a little minibus. We had fellas falling over in the thing. I said, well, I think we'll get there on time. And I'm up the inside and things, up the footpath and all that sort. I cruised into Brookvale Level. I parked on a no standing zone. Out files the Penrith team, and out we go. We beat them.
Oh.
We had a bit of fun on the way home. We had a bit of a pub crawl on the way home.
I bet you would have. Yeah. I think it's the funniest thing ever that you were driving them. The coach is driving the bus.
The real funny story, we were going down to Wollongong for a game one day, and there was never any parking down at Wollongong. Illawarra had just come into the competition, and there was never any parking down there. And there was nowhere for the girls to sit, and they used to like to take their girls going. So we told the girls to stay at home, and we'd come back and have a Chinese meal after the game. We'd go down to Illawarra and play. And so I said to the boys, and this is long before full-time professionalism, long before professionalism of any sort, and I said to them, we'll get on the bus, I said, and we'll stop at Appen on the way down. And there was a little fruit stall, that sort of thing, and we'll get some lunch on the way down there, and then we'll go down to Wollongong, we'll play, and then we'll come home and have dinner with your families. And so all decided. So I got on the minibus and down we go, and I went down through the back of Campbelltown to Appen, and there used to be an Appen fruit shop there. So get out, and the blokes would go out and they'd get some apples and oranges and bananas or whatever they wanted to do, except Brad Fittler. Brad Fittler gets on the bus and he's got 2 packets of Cheezels and a chocolate milk. And I look and I said, what's that? He said, it's breakfast. I said, are you kidding? He said, no. So up the back of the bus he goes and munches down these Cheezels and he drinks this chocolate milk. Well, things didn't go too well in the first half. We were down by quite a score. We might have been down 24-0 or something or other. So we come in at half time and I'm about to blow up and I'm just getting into my stride. I'm just about to give him and I can hear this. I look around and Brad Fittler has spewed up these Cheezels on the floor. It's a yellow mess on the floor. And I looked at him and he said, that's better. He said, I feel better. Anyway, we stormed home the second half, got beat 26-24.
Oh, Freddie's Cheezels.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Did you make it to the Chinese meal?
Yeah, we got back. Chinese meal.
Oh, very good.
Cheezels and a chocolate milk. Preparation for a game.
Couple of quick ones, if you can be quick. Lamo asks, are you a fan of Golden Point? Manly Newcastle went to double Golden Point for duck egg.
Yeah. I was one of the advocates for it. I enjoyed it. I liked the American model where they went into extra time. And I think it saved a lot of poor games back in the day. Sometimes the game wasn't exciting at all until it got down to that Golden Point thing. And I think it was a nice gimmick. And now I see it as unnecessary. I think sometimes a draw is a great result.
Yeah, I didn't mind the draw.
Yeah. I think the draw's a good result. I think it's unfair sometimes that we have to have a winner and a loser in that situation. So with the Newcastle game the other day, I was actually glad it finished in a draw because I think that was a fair result. With the one on Sunday night, I was glad we won because I thought we were the better team. But we'd scored 3 tries to 2 and Burton had hit the upright with the winner, but thankfully we got the result. I'm happy to get a point and go home.
Yeah, especially given the amount of football we play.
I'm happy to get a point, and I don't think finals should be sided by sudden death either. I've come to that conclusion. I just play until we get a winner.
Well, finals we go to extra time and then Golden Point.
Yeah, I think just keep going extra time. Just go another 10 minutes, go another 10. We'll get a winner.
Yeah. Okay.
I think you should have to defend it right to the siren. I think the siren should end the game, not a score.
Yep, fair enough.
And that's earlier on supporting it, but now I think we've gone past that. I think the premiership point is too valuable, and I think the games are good enough and entertaining enough without needing the gimmick at the end of it.
They couldn't get Cherry Evans anywhere near the post to have a shot at field goal. He's one of the best.
He's a master. I think of all the Golden Point games in history, I think Cherry Evans might be number 1 in.
I reckon he would be. Yeah.
I think he's had about 6 or 7 of them where he's been the deciding factor.
He's kicked him with his left foot.
Left and right footed. Huh? Yeah, no, he's a beauty. And he's kicked field goals to get into Golden Point, and then kicked another one to win it. So I think he's the. A few of the others now are getting very, very good at it.
Well, on Friday and the 8th today, they were asking Joey and Freddie if they were going to pick anyone to kick a field goal for their life. Who would they pick? I think they've both nominated Nathan Cleary, but I reckon Daly Cherry Evans' record's bloody good. I mean, of course, Nathan, but. Yeah. It's not a bad. And they're both the Origin halfbachs.
I'm hoping in a few years' time that there'll be a new. Because I think Matt Burton is going to kick a lot of them. I watch him practice, and he very rarely misses. And when we got to 14 all the other night and went to Golden Point, one of the pleasing things, he hit the upright with his kick from the sideline. It was a monster. It was a beautiful kick, and it just didn't fade back enough and hit the upright. And they said he went over to the tunnel. He went over to the huddle. He said, "Sorry, boys." He said, "Don't worry, I got this. Just get me down there." He said, "I'll get it." And he was just really confident, and that's a confidence born out of the way he practices. He's.
Do you remember when he was at Penrith? I reckon it was the first game after COVID.
Yeah,
first time.
He was a rookie.
It was 14 all. Penrith and he had about 5 shots and missed them all.
He was a rookie. He was a rookie.
And I think the next week he came back and kicked one at home.
Yeah, but he kept turning up and wanting the ball and that's a winner. There's two. I say it. And this is why they get the big bucks. There's certain players when the game is in the balance and time is running out, they want the ball, and there are others that don't. There are people that want the ball to come their way, and there are others that hope it goes the other way, and that's just a fact. But Matt Burton wanted his hands on the ball, and he's played the chip kick for Addo-Carr. Had Addo-Carr's chip kick rolled forward, he wins the race to the ball. It would have been a spectacular try under those circumstances to win the game. But then Burton lined himself up, 35 metres out and 10 metres, 12 metres in from touch.
It was like Nico Hines' shot at penalty goal.
And he finessed it.
Huh.
He didn't actually give it everything. He finessed it. He can kick them from halfway. He's a phenomenal kicker of the ball.
That set play, him to Addo Carr, that's so exciting. I mean, everyone knows it's going to come, but when it happens, it's everyone realises
I don't know how everyone knows
it's
it's
off their feet.
I don't know how everyone knows it's going to come because Matt and Fox don't know when it's going to come.
But they're going to throw it in at some stage.
It's going to come at some stage.
Yeah.
It's just a look, and that might be the second time all year they've even done that. So, but he landed it right in his belly, and then Fox with a good kick, and it just bounced back over everybody's head. Had it kick forward, the Fox scores. For Fox is the match winner.
We've got to get to trivia because we've gone forever. But there's a line in the paper of Jason Saab's back this week. It might have been in the NRL.com. Said the fastest man in rugby league returns for Manly.
Yeah, I worried. I thought we'd lost our player.
You didn't think you like that one. I'm back in the Fox. Six tackle trivia. Other than last weekend's game, when was the last time there was a drawn match in the NRL, and who were the two teams that played? Six tackle trivia. I can't believe I gave you the answer before. When's the last time there was a draw and who played other than the weekend?
Newcastle and Penrith.
It was Penrith and Newcastle.
It was back in COVID. I think it was.
Oh, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I think when they just come back from COVID.
It was the first game back.
Yeah, it was 2020.
Because I remember we turned up at Campbelltown and everyone was like they were wearing, nuclear suits.
Remember they had the cutout fans in the grandstands?
They did too. And they cut one out of you.
Yeah, you could send your...
Gus was in the stand.
You could send your photo in and get yourself put in the stand. That was our crowds,
they
COVID.
Did too.
What a crazy time.
Can you believe it? That's funny.
Yeah, Panthers drew with Newcastle.
14 all. That's right. Very good. Now, NRLW. The clubs are throwing the money around this week. So we've agreed on the CBA about the women. Yes, the women's salary.
I don't know where they are with that, mate. I know they've done. We haven't finished the NRL one yet, or the second tier one yet. Well, no one knows what they're doing.
I think.
And now we've got all this concussion protocol and mandatory stands there. We're going to need 40 players, not 30.
So
I know where they think they're going to get all these players if they keep suspending them the way they're doing and ruling them out the way we're ruling them out. We're not going to have the players. Anyway, that's for another day.
Sorry. Yes.
Don't upset me.
I didn't mean to.
Don't upset me. When you start saying RLPA and CBA, I get shivers.
So the clubs, the new clubs in the NRLW have been able to recruit players from this week. Well, fair income. West Tigers have signed Kezi Apps, Bo Vete Welsh and Sarah Tongatuki, first three players to sign contracts at the club. The Cowboys have announced Emma Manselman as the club's inaugural signing, with the Knights Premiership winner returning home to North Queensland. A lot of these players have the chance to go and play for a club that represents their area of origin, which is good. The Titans have continued their impressive recruitment speed, with Jillaroos representative Talia Fuimano joining the Titans for 3 years. Now the Raiders, how about this, Gus? Samaima Taufa and Zahara Tamara and Mona Lisa Soliola, who's Sia's sister.
Yep.
They've signed with Canberra, and Ray C. McGregor has reconfirmed with the Dragons for another year for 2023. So there's a lot of movement going on. The Raiders they've bought very well there. Samaima Taufa, she's a beauty. Round 6, thanks to Bluebet. The odds we give you are correct as of 9 o'clock Wednesday when we're recording this. And just remember to ask yourself, what are you really gambling with? Free and confidential support. Visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Thursday night footy. A cracker. Melbourne Roosters. Melbourne $1.80. Roosters $2. I'm just going to go through the changes here. There are some significant ones this week. Jerome Hughes is back, of course, for Melbourne, which is big. And the Roosters decided, unsurprisingly, that Joey Manu is going to go back to fullback with Teddy out of the team.
Yep.
Cracking game. Down in Melbourne.
Yep. They're hard to beat down there, the Melbourne Storm, but I think the Roosters are entitled to favouritism in this game, and I'm thinking the Roosters will win.
Even without Tedesco. Roosters.
Well, you've got Joey Manu.
I know. You said on 100% footy that Joey Manu is the second best fullback in the game.
Of course he is.
Hello? You're forgetting someone?
Who? Tom?
Bloke at Manly?
Yeah. Well, Teddy's the best. They play every week, mate.
No, Teddy's the best. I'm just a bit-
Teddy's the best. He plays every week.
No, but you said
plays
Jay Mona's the
every
second
week.
best.
He is.
Hey?
Read my lips.
Good Friday, early. Good Friday afternoon. Bulldogs and South Sydney. You'll see it here on 9. We've got 2 games Good Friday, and fantastic. Fantastic coverage of rugby league over Easter. The Bulldogs, they got a few out, but they're going to turn up and do their absolute best with what they've got. They were super last week, winning against North Queensland. The Rabbitohs have got Tavita Totola back in their team, so that's the main change there. Then Friday night footy. The Cowboys get home to Townsville, and they're $1.27 favourites against the Dolphins. They've got Scott Drinkwater back at fullback. And for the Dolphins, Cody Nikorima comes into the halves with Anthony Milford gone. Gee, O'Sullivan, then Milford. So
Yep.
they're running a bit low on resources there.
Yeah, and we saw last week, just against the Dragons with the Dolphins, just the beginning of the cracks. It's hard to maintain that emotion and play on that emotion for a long period of time. And they came back to the field a little bit last week. I think the Cowboys back at home, where they are on the ladder, the fact that Drinkwater's back, they'll find a way to win.
Cowboys at home to win. Now, Saturday. Well, this is such a good game. 5:30 p.m, Bluebet Stadium, Penrith Panthers, $1.32 against Manly at $3.40. Now, Penrith are without James Fisher-Harris and without Liam Martin.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's wrong.
Yeah. I reckon they got a great hope, Manly.
Yeah, I think Penrith can win, but and I don't know what, but I think Manly have got a really good chance. I'm going to tip the Panther at home, but I respect Manly greatly, and I don't think that they should be those odds.
All right, Broncos $1.19, Canberra $4.70, 7:35 kickoff at Suncorp Stadium. What can I tell you as far as team news? Jared Croker's back. He's in the centres.
Yes. It's just not happening for the Raider at the moment, is it? See Snediger and Fogarty are in the halves. There's no Jack Wighton, obviously. He's out suspended. There's been some real concern about their second halves for a few weeks now. And, they're going to be hard-pressed containing the Broncos. The Broncos are going to beat a lot of sides by a lot of points this year, particularly at home. They play so much better at home, and they're fast and explosive, and they're going to be hard to beat. The Broncos will win that comfortably.
Now, this one, I reckon, is the toss-up game of the weekend. Now, the Titans have had the bye. It's after they prevailed over Melbourne in a point shootout the week before. They're $1.74 favourites to beat the Dragons at Cbus Super Stadium on the Gold Coast, which you'll see here on 9. Jaden Campbell takes over at fullback from the injured AJ Brisbane. They've lost a couple of big players, though, Gold Coast. Kieran Foran's out with the calf as well, so Toby Sexton comes in. Now, they've signed Cruz Lemming, who is the Leeds Rhinos
UK.
Yeah, Super League Grand Final winner. And he's been named on the extended bench, and he's a hooker. He's potentially going to make his debut this week. I think he's only just been there for about a week or so. And for the Dragons, Jaden Sewer's been named but is in doubt, and that's about it.
I'm actually going to be up on the Gold Coast this weekend, so I'm going to go out to that game. I'm glad it's a Channel 9 game because I can hopefully get some tickets to get in.
I think you'll be right.
Maybe sit in the box up there somewhere.
You can work if you want.
I'm going up with our recruitment manager, Peter Sharp. We're going to go and watch a little bit of football, but then we're going to go out for dinner with Wayne Beavis. Our good friend Wayne Beavis, who hasn't been in the best of health, so we're going out. We're taking the wives up, and
nice.
We're going to go out with Wayne and his wife for dinner Sunday night.
Which games are you watching?
Just some Queensland Cup stuff. We're watching a few players up there, and some local junior football.
Good.
But we've got a window of opportunity in the afternoon to go to the Titans game, so I'm going to turn up and pretend I'm working for Channel 9. In my shorts and T-shirt. And
are
you going there?
No, Salty's calling that.
Is he?
If you ring them, I'm sure they'll give you a box with food and beverages provided. You don't have to. You probably don't have to sneak in the back door.
I'll sneak in somehow. So I'm going to go to this game. I think it'll be a really good game.
Dragons were ordinary in the first half at home last week, but the second half they were far too good. They might have found a little bit in the second half there.
They've got a good roster, mate. They've got a good roster. They can beat anyone on any day, trust me. I'm going to go home side Titan.
Ooh, plenty of points there.
I think Titan might win that one.
Sunday, 6:15, Newcastle Even money outsiders to the Warriors. The high-flying Warriors at $1.80.
Yeah, they're playing well, both sides. Newcastle have surprised me a little, to be honest, but they're playing with a lot of grit, a lot of determination, and as we've seen, they can come up with some points as well.
Well, Tyson Gamble's out.
Yes.
With concussion.
Phoenix Crossland goes in. He's a handy little player, Phoenix Crossland. But
Murray Martin and Tohu Harris.
The Warriors, I see something special. The Warriors, Shark Park, back home to New Zealand, over to Sydney, bus up to Newcastle. They do it tough, the Warriors, but I just sense something special happening there. I don't think there's much in this game at all. I can see an advantage for Knights playing at home, but I can also see something special happening at the Warriors. So I'm going to tip a Warrior.
Warriors to make it, what would that be? 5 from 6?
Mm-hmm.
How about that? And then Easter Monday, Tigers $4.50, Parramatta $1.20. Now Adam Dewey's gone back to 5/8. Charlie Staines has gone to fullback, so no Daine Laurie. Brett Naden returns in the centres. That's all that's really significant. And for Parramatta, Sean Lane's back. Hayes Dunster's on the wing for Bailey Simonson. And Wonga Blake's been dropped. Sean Russell comes into the centres.
Okay.
I think I remember last year in a similar position.
Yeah, Tigers beat them.
The Tigers beat them with a field goal.
Yeah, I think it was Jackson Hastings kicked the field goal, didn't he? Beat them 19-18 or something like that. Crikey, I need to see some form from West Tigers before I could tip them. And Parramatta need to win. They need to win these types of games. Where are we playing this?
Accor Stadium.
Accor Stadium. I'll go with Eel.
All right.
So I'm going with Rooster, Cowboy, Panther, Bronco, Titan, Warrior, Eel.
And you're tipping in the Masters.
I think my best chance is Xander Schauffele, but I really think I will stand and applaud if Rory can win it. I think he's in such scintillating form at the moment, and this is his Masters to win.
You watch it all here on 9, both the footy and the golf. Thanks, Gus. Be a great weekend. Enjoy the Goldie.
Thank you.
That's 6 Tackles with Gus for this week, and we're back next week for another bumper edition. Talk to you then.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website